Hey y'all, it's Christy from Teadoddles here. This is Vlogmas Day 8. I did miss yesterday, Vlogmas Day 7. I got home a little later than expected, so I didn't have time to do it yesterday. But today I'm going to give you some sewing tips for the little stuffed dinosaur that I'm doing a mini sew along with while I'm doing Vlogmas. The link for the pattern will be down below if you would like to use it. It's great for scraps and things like that. I went over that in Vlogmas Day 6. What fabric I'm using and everything. It'll be labeled, so if you want to look for that, if you're just now joining in. I have this is a pattern I did a while back on my blog. I made one of these for my son a long time ago, and then I had to put the pattern on the blog. So I've sewn 3 of the legs, and I did leave my opening to turn and stuff on the back side of the leg. That's the longest space, and I find that works the best for these little legs. I can leave a little bit bigger opening so it's easier to turn. I've just got one more leg to do, which I'm going to show y'all how I go around the corners and things, and then I have the body to do. I wanted to go over some of these points and things when we sew. And I've also traced another one with right sides facing together on the fabric, and so I can show you how to, if this is easier, you can just sew along the line after you trace it and then cut and leave about a 1/4 inch seam when you cut it out. Just be sure when you lay out these pieces that you leave enough room for a decent size seam. This one right here is a little bit close, but it should work okay. And this may be easier. It will be a little bit bigger than the one I'm doing. Mine's going to be a little skinnier. Or the one that the seam is on the inside. So those are 2 different ways you can do it. I'm going to show you how to do both. All right, so let's first start off with the leg. I'm going to zoom y'all in. Hopefully I don't shake this too much. I'm trying not to bump it. So I'm going to set my needle is to the far left. That's the first stitch position on my machine. My stitch length is at 2.5. You can even drop this to a 2 if you feel that that's going to be better. 2.5 works great for me. This second line on my, can y'all see that? If I something to point with, we'll see. The center line is about 1/8 of an inch on my presser foot, and there's a little line off here that is a 1/4 inch on my presser foot. If you don't have a marking like that on your presser foot, you can measure and mark it so it's easier, because you're going to be right up here beside your presser foot most of this time. I don't recommend using I have a presser foot that has the edge that maintains the 1/4 inch edge. That doesn't work really well for this because it's so small and you're turning so many corners. For me, it works best to use just the regular flat presser foot for this, okay? So I'm going to set this here. I'm going to come up here. And hopefully this doesn't shake the thing when I sew, but I'm just going to do a couple stitches and do back stitches. That just helps when you're turning it to keep from popping open more of your stitches. So what I do is I look at where this edge is following. When I get to a point where it looks like I'm starting to go off and it's not connected, I pick up my presser foot and I turn this slightly. I do a couple more stitches. This is something you're going to want to do very slowly. So if you have a problem with a lead foot, like I do sometimes, my machine has a speed controller, so you may want to turn it way down so you don't sew too fast. Just depends on how you go. So that's what I do, is I go around this curve, I sew a couple stitches, and then I turn it, keeping the edge of my fabric aligned with my mark as I go around. Stuck on something over here. Like I said, it just takes a little bit of time, and you're doing that to try to keep it as round as possible. Get to this one can be a little trickier. So you're going to have to turn about every stitch just a little bit to really get around, because this is kind of something you got to eyeball. It's really hard to keep that line aligned with anything in that little tight corner. So I just go around until I get back to the flat spot. This curve's a little bit tighter than the curve at the top, so again I'm just turning every stitch slightly, get around that foot edge, and there we go along the bottom. And we got to go around the heel. This one I do. Every stitch. And I just go up this little angle a little bit and hit my back stitch again. Okay, so there we go. I'm sewing around it. Kept it pretty even. That's why I said you gotta go super slow with this, especially these little feet. They are, it's a little tedious, but once you get the hang of it, it goes a little bit faster. So now I'm gonna go to the dinosaur body. I'm gonna leave my opening on the tummy part of this one. This one's going to go a little bit faster. Do my back stitch because I have straighter lines. When I get to a point like this, I prefer not to just do a point. And this little tail was the main thing that I wanted to go over because it does end in a point. So what I do is I just sew all the way across. I'm going to put some reinforcing stitches right about there. Just sew to the end. And you can trim that or not trim it. And then I turn it. And I just start from this end. That way I don't have to turn so tight in that corner and try to figure out where that point is. I find this to be easier. I find that the stitches, back stitch when it crosses over, a little more reinforced in that area to do it that way. And for me, I can usually turn this to get around these curves. These curves are pretty easy. I would still go slower depending on how well you can concentrate on that. So now this is a kind of point. So I'm going to go, I don't know if y'all can see that or not. I don't think you can. Let me see if I can turn it. I go to where I can see that it's about the distance that it needs to do. And then I'll turn my presser foot. And if my presser foot's not aligning where I want it to, so it's kind of off with a stitch, I'll go another stitch. And I'll turn it again. And that's a much better place to be. So that's one you just kind of have to, I'd always test it before I start sewing in the other direction to try to keep the seam as even as you can on this. This is, I tried to do an 1/8 of an inch seam on this, but it really doesn't work well for stuffing things. It kind of pokes through too easy in some places. It's easy to get off track. So now we're up at the head. I'm just going to keep turning every couple of stitches to get around the head of the dinosaur. Alright. There we go. There's another point. So I'm going to go till I think I'm at the spot that will put me on the right track. But see, that's not lined up there. Yeah, I think y'all can see that. I'm going to go back, do me another stitch, test it out again, and there we go. I'd rather stop sooner and have to do another stitch than go past it. If you go past it, you can go turn it back around and back stitch. That will work too. Alright, now do a little back stitch. I would leave at least an inch opening to turn this. Alright, now I'm going to back the camera back up. There we go. So we can see how I've got him all stitched together. It really just takes a little bit of time to get that how you want it to be. And then I'm going to use my scissors to get, like we have these like this, you want to clip as close, I need to get some better lighting over here, to that seam as you can without cutting your stitches. That gives you more movement when you're turning. All of these little curves like this, it's a good idea to just snip. It's going to make it rounder when you turn. Then we can snip right in here for that inside corner. And I'm going to snip off this whole point because I don't want that going up into my tail end. I'll put a little snip right there. And sometimes I'll cut these little corners too. That just reduces the bulk when you're turning something in such a tiny point right there. Makes it a little bit easier. I'm going to clip around these curves at the bottom. All the way around here. I'm going to clip right here in this point for the head. Just like I did at the neck. And then up here by the face, I'm going to snip, snip, snip. And you get as close as to the seam as you can without cutting the seam, hopefully. So, let me stay on camera. There we go. All right. And all of that around this. That's just going to help that turn a whole lot easier. Now on the feet, it's going to be similar. I've got this deeper curve here. It's not really a point, so I'm going to snip around like that several times. And then I'll also snip around the feet. Probably it's like every 1/4 of an inch I'm going. Just trying not to get into that seam. And I'm going to try to stay on camera while I do this. Alright, so you just snip all around it just like that. And I'm going to do, tomorrow I'll do how to turn it inside out and start stuffing it because I feel like I need to go back to my work table to do that. So, alright, now I'm going to show you when we're doing this, you're going to do some of the similar things, okay? But what I'm going to do is I'm going to the second stitch on mine, which puts my needle right in the center. And I can use that line right in the center. I'm going to zoom y'all in again. I can use that line right in the center to follow the lines on my fabric. And then you would cut it out after you stitch everything. So you still need to leave an opening. I'm leaving it in the back of my foot. And you just do the same thing we did before. This one can be a little bit easier, provided you make your line where you can see it. And then you can just follow. You can use that center piece on your foot as a guide, and then you can follow along with the stitching. So this one to me goes a little bit faster because you're not trying to maintain a seam. You're just following a line. So this may be easier if you're newer to sewing smaller things like this. This one gets a little bit tricky, and you just gotta kind of eyeball where you're at. Don't worry if you get off the line a little bit. It's not the end of the world. So, like I said, this one goes a little bit faster because I don't have to keep more than one thing aligned, I guess. Just align that center seam, that center needle on my line. All right, there we go. Back stitch, and there we go. So, yeah, for me that goes a lot faster. And you can see how I missed my line a little bit here. It's not a big deal. If I really wanted it to be some kind of perfect, I would go back and redo that, but I don't see the point in redoing that. And so it works the same way on the body. Let me zoom back out. Oop, that was too far. There we go. It works the same way on the body. I was just going to show you on the foot on this one, because on the body it would be the same. And if you find that easier to follow the line, then that's what I would do. I'm going to do both of these. And then when you cut it out, let's see. You just have to maintain a good seam. So I cut around like this. Just trying to maintain a good seam line. So, if you find that easier, I'll just have a little bit. You can see the difference here and what size the dinosaur will be. So there you go. So pick the one that works the best for you. I will be finishing up both of these, and tomorrow I will see y'all again. I'm going to a whiskey tasting tonight with my parents, and I hope to enjoy that. And I will see y'all again tomorrow on Saturday. I hope if you have any questions, leave them down below, and I hope y'all have a wonderful weekend.